Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to another action-packed episode of Mr. J's Big Book of Movies, where my quest is to find the best movies in the land to put into my Big Book of Movies. What does it take to get into the Big Book of Movies? That's what we do here every Saturday to find out. Before we begin today's episode, I want to give a shout out to an individual I met this Saturday, a Miss Kimberly Camp. She is the owner/designer of BusyBeads.biz. She makes very unique things like grilled cheese sandwich earrings and ice cream pop necklaces, hamburger necklaces, and beautiful bracelets. Go ahead and give her a look at her web pages. Her Instagram is at busy_beads_boutique. Her Facebook page is Busy Beads Boutique. Her Twitter page is at Busy Bees BTIQ. You can contact her anytime, anywhere at 216-309-1967 and email her anytime, anywhere, busy.beads@hotmail.com. And don't forget, most importantly, her Etsy store, www, I think I said too many W's, .busybeadsboutique.etsy, that is ETSY.com. Hit her up, show her some love. She's part of the Eye for an Eye community. I am very excited about today's show. We have another viewer challenge. And I got my first troll. I'm doing something good. People are hating on my work. I love it. Apparently my Black History Month videos caused some controversy. I'm very proud that I got my first troll. Thank you very much. I'm not going to put you on blast because you use some language that you shouldn't. So I reported you to YouTube. So I'm not going to put you on blast. But thank you very much for trolling me and talking shit about Black History Month. I'm very proud of that. Also, we have a viewer challenge from a Mr. V. Smith. He writes, though I am a firm believer that a film should be able to stand alone on its own metrics, I am curious if you think that your overall score would stay more or less the same if you were to look at the series as a whole. My curiosity is less about your thoughts on the story/character continuity of the film franchise and more about if you think the message of the original film hold up when you view the franchise as one work. I am very excited about this viewer challenge. Now, the way I'm going to handle it is I'm going to handle it in a two-parter. Actually, I'm going to handle it in a three-parter. So, the first film I'm going to review today, I already reviewed Friday last week, is I'm going to review next Friday. Next week, I'm going to review the Friday after next. And then the final part, I'm going to review the franchise as a whole. So I want to get out my feelings for each individual film and then view my message as the entire trilogy. I've never done the whole trilogy before, so I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about this viewer challenge. So without further ado, V. Smith, this show is for you. Next Friday was released January 12th in the year 2000. That's really weird because it's a summer movie and it came out after the Oscar season. It seems a very awkward time for this movie to come out. It was directed by Steve Carr and stars Ice Cube, Mike Epps, and Justin Pierce. IMDb states that Uncle Elroy and Day Day owe money on taxes, so Craig finds a way to steal from the next door neighbors to pay off the taxes, so Uncle Elroy's house doesn't go up for auction. Yes, you can say that is the plot of the movie. I feel saying why Craig was staying with Uncle Elroy and Day Day is important. And that's the fact that Craig's dad didn't feel it was safe for him to stay in the original house because of Day-Day. Because of Debo. But, yeah, I feel that's an important thing to add. So, without further ado, let's get things started. Now, before I begin grading this movie, I want you to know I don't hate this movie. A lot of people say this is the worst in the trilogy. It's different. The reason why a lot of people don't like it is because it's supposed to be a comedy, but it takes itself way too seriously. Now, I want you to think about that as to why it takes itself too seriously, because maybe it hits home in a lot of areas that a lot of people don't realize. Starting at the top, we have the rewatch factor. I give this film a 2. I'll watch it with someone who's never seen it before, but it's just above a one and done film. I don't have any want to see it. This is the first time I saw it. I only saw Friday and the Friday after next, and people just say, pass on next Friday. You really don't need to see it, and I agree, you don't need to see it. But I'm glad I watched it. I obviously watched it for this. But other than that, it really didn't add anything. A lot that I do want to say is it tried to keep too much of the essence of Friday and use the same jokes. And they tried to get a little more slapsticky. And the originality of Friday did not pass into next Friday. So I feel it was a failed carbon copy of the original Friday movie. Next up, we have storyline. I give storyline a 3. You have about 4 storylines going on that didn't make sense. You have the initial storyline of Debo escaping from jail and wanting to hunt down Craig. That was his storyline. You have Day-Day's storyline where a girl thinks that Day-Day got her pregnant and just harasses him the entire movie. It kind of reminds me of when Carrie Fisher was in the Blues Brothers and she was just harassing him the entire movie and there was just no resolution for it. I feel that's what was being done with Day-Day in this movie. You have the storyline with the next door neighbor / the next door neighbor's sister. And this is where I want to delve into the reality of next Friday, is the fact that stereotypically we think of drugs and weapons being in the ghettos, but it happens in the suburbs. And one thing that I think is funny is the fact that this film takes place in a cul-de-sac, and cul-de-sacs are always referred to in movies as like the craziest places on earth. I think that's very funny. And it's like it once again makes fun of all the stereotypes that are put upon, minorities. For example, the Asian next door neighbor. How Day-Day thinks she's Chinese, but you find out she's Korean. There's a stereotype that all Asian people look alike. You have the Hispanic family that all three brothers have the same name and they're drug runners. Yet you don't see drugs the entire movie. They're drug runners. And they live right next door, the people right next door. You have the stereotype of Pinky, how he still thinks he's the shit living in the 80s looking so ridiculous, yet, you still think you're the shit. I don't think they worked well in this movie. I feel Friday was such an original movie, like I said before, that they tried to capitalize on that. They had a lot of cameos, Stanley was in the film, the whole 35, 45 minutes. Like, it's not funny anymore. We already did that. We already did that joke. We don't need to do it 4 times in this movie. So, all in all, with the ups and downs, I give the storyline a 3. Characters, once again, gets a 1. There is no character development in this film. I feel the love interest was forced. And if you took out that love interest, everything in the film would have happened the exact same way. So just, there is no standout people. I don't feel anyone stood out. I don't even remember the girlfriend's name. And I don't remember the conclusion of what happened with Debo, how he got caught. And if that was his brother or not. Like, I don't know. So characters, they just get a 1. Appearance-wise, I give a 3, middle of the road. Friday has never been a movie to look at. There's nothing to view. It's just that, it's just an average movie that didn't look like it took $10 to make, so I give it a 3. It took a long time for those damn sirens to pass by. I really kept recording because I thought it was just going to be a 5-second thing, but those sirens went on for a while, so I apologize for that, for it getting into the show. That's what happens when you record with your window open. Finally, we have Enjoyment. Enjoyment, I give a 2. This was a comedy, and I feel it took itself way too seriously. I like the fact how they specified the fact that just because you live in the suburbs doesn't mean, bad things don't happen there. I honestly feel that the suburbs are a little more violent than the ghetto. I mean, you get this image of, lesser rich neighborhoods from the news, from movies and everything, and it's just like, oh, it's like a war zone. But then you look at how close-knit those neighborhoods are. Like, people look out for each other. Then you look in the suburbs, and you don't even know who the hell your neighbor is. And it's like, here, it shows the fact that, you don't know who your neighbors are. I feel that's what the message in Next Friday is. Correct me if I'm wrong, blow up my comments. But I feel this was a failed attempt. So what does all of this mean? What this means is I'm going to add up the 5 categories, because 5 categories equal a score, and a score equals a grade. The rewatch factor, being a 2. The storyline, being a 3. The characters, once again, being a 1. The appearance, being a 3. And the enjoyment, being a 2. Altogether, that equals an 11. And that 11 equals a D. This was a bad movie. It took itself way too seriously. I said that a couple times. But I mean, with as original of a film that Friday was, I feel they lost grasp of what made it a good movie and focused on the reasons why they thought it was a good movie. And they tried to follow the slapstick comedy half of it as opposed to the storytelling, breaking stereotype half of it and making fun of the stereotype half of it. So I feel that's where the film failed. Does next Friday get into the big book of movies, which is why we're here? Hell no, it doesn't get into the big book of movies. It doesn't even get into the little book of movies. This movie's dumb as fuck. Well, that's all the time we have here today on Mr. J's Big Book of Movies. Don't forget you can follow me here every Saturday. New episodes here. You can listen to my podcast, Eye for an Eye with Mr. J. It comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. Available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. My snap wasn't on today. It was a little muffled. You can follow me on our Facebook fan page at I4Mr. J. Our Twitter page at I4N, spelled just like our podcast. You can email me anytime, anywhere, mws_216@yahoo.com. And most importantly of all, right there, comment and subscribe. That's what it's there for. And as far as I'm concerned, this chapter is now closed.